What's up, guys? Welcome to the latest episode of Beards in Business, a Weskerman podcast. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about beard straightener, how to straighten your beard and get this nice, clean look. We're going to be discussing two different ways of doing that. There's other ways, but we'll focus on these two. So recap, we've gone from setting the foundation of knowing that we need to use a beard-specific wash. We talked about last week of using our beard wash, of why to use that. One, it doesn't kill your beard. It keeps it hydrated, clean. We use beard because it creates an amazing lather. We also use the beard because it helps soothe your skin if you're shaving your cheek lines or under your neck. So last week, we went over how to wash properly. Now we have our beard. It's completely washed. We just got done with washing it. So we're going to get into what is next. So have a little video to show that we're going to have here. And then once we come back, I will break down the video and get into more details. So over to the video.
All right, so we just finished washing our beard, as you probably saw in the last episode. So here we go. We're going to dry it off. We're going to get it really good dry. Not completely dry, but I want to make sure that we get it to where it's somewhat dry. Right? We don't want it dripping, especially as we go into our beard straightener. Okay, so I'm going to just put this off to the side. So with our beard straightener, as you can see, this one is I got from Amazon, Tamed Wild, fairly decent, not too bad priced. It has 3 different functions as far as heat settings. 1, 2, 3. I always put it on 3. It flashes until it's fully warmed up. Once it goes solid, it is good to go. All right, so you can see we are ready to go. We're full all blue. I'm only going to do the one side of my face just for demonstration purposes. So basically what we'll do here is we want to get as close to our skin as possible. This is where finding the right one for you can be very difficult. And then we're just going to go nice and slow through there. You can probably hear it sizzle a little bit because it's still a little damp. And what I like to do is I like to stay in the same spot 5 times through. So that's 2. And if you notice, I'm pulling my hair a little bit on the bottom just to keep it nice and tight to run this through. And then there you go, there's a nice sizzle because underneath my chin's still a little wet. All right, we get this side done. We'll go ahead and hold, turn this off. Now as you can see, a little bit straight, much better than this side. You can see the 2 sides. So for those of you that don't want to go out and try different straighteners, yes, it's a purple. This is the wife's hair dryer. We're going to plug it into the wall. And then what we're going to do here is I'll do the other side. I'm going to grab my wood comb. I have 2 selections, high or low. I'm going to go on high. What I do with the high is turn it on, get it as close to blowing it down away from my face, and then I just go ahead and comb through as I go. The reason I'm using a wood comb is wood is much better than plastic. If you need to use plastic, go ahead. Don't be surprised if you get tangled up pretty good. You may snap a comb here or there, but if you go through nice and slow, you shouldn't build up static as much, but there is still a chance that you're going to get some static electricity. That's why I use the wood comb. Thicker, thinner. I use the thinner teeth. So we'll go ahead and fire this bad boy up. All right, so we get it nice and close. And the same thing, I'm going to do 5 strokes. All right, so now you can see with no product in, fairly straightened compared to when I first got out. Then from here, we'll get into product. So stay tuned next week where we'll get into a deeper discussion of oils followed by butters.
All right, guys, after watching that video, you can see that there's 2 different simple ways of doing it. There are many beard straighteners out on the market. Some can range to a couple $100, or you can get a down to probably $30, $40. It's a bit of a challenge to find the one that's right for you. The one that you saw in there is good for longer beards. The teeth are a little bit to where if you had a shorter beard, it wouldn't really do a whole lot. So that's why we also show the easy. Almost everyone who's got a spouse has a hair dryer. The hair dryer is really great too for when traveling. You don't have to take your straightener. You can always use the hair dryer. So it's really based off of your preference. If you want to go out and spend a couple $100 and get a top of the line straightener, awesome. There are some really good ones out there. I've seen some great reviews. Just haven't gotten around to buying one or trying them yet. But overall, you want to find what's going to give you that most natural straight. And then obviously, it's not going to just be done after that. That's why, as we talked about, then you need to get into your product of what to do to actually take care of your beard. So with that, it's your routine. I like to do the 5 times hold. Sometimes I'll go underneath to get that initial straight through, but you've got to figure out what works best for you. Whether it's a straightener, whether it's a blow dryer. The one thing that I definitely would recommend is whatever you do, stick with it. You can switch back and forth between the hot air dryer when you're on the road traveling or whatever. But for the most part, whatever you find that works, go with it, and then set up your unique routine. With the hair dryer, I do recommend using the wood comb. One, you're using the higher heat, so you want to be able to comb it while blowing on it at the same time. And then you also want to be able to the wood is the best for you. One, because that's what we sell, and then two, it's more natural. The plastic does, like I said in the video, you have a tendency to snap plastic. You also can build up static, and then you also, as you're getting that, if you get a really really high end air dryer, you're gonna get that heat, and it's probably gonna start messing with the plastic a little bit. So you can just avoid that. So like we said, um, whatever works best for you. You get it straight, and then obviously throughout the day, you're gonna have to constantly be, re-straightening with your hands, using your comb throughout the day, but that is what maintains it. So once you find what works for you, then amazing, you're able to take it and go from there, and then that's your routine. But then the next foundation after we straighten it, after we get out of the wash, and this is not something that you have to do after washing. It doesn't have to be immediately after getting out of the shower. So you get a shower in the morning after the gym, and you're just kind of bumming around the house, not doing anything. You could always do this later in the day and straighten it while it's dry. Now, some straighteners do have a spray that you spray and put on. That's like an anti burning. I've gone back and forth. I've tinkered with it just to try it. It doesn't seem to really do a whole lot of difference. But again, this is what is unique about your beard game. I'm giving you the tools. What tools you use, what you don't use, is your specific beard game. So you can straighten your beard at any point in time throughout the day. Most times I'll do it right before I'm about to walk out, give it a little straighten, and then as we'll get into more details next week of what to do with the products after you've got it nice and straight, and then what to do from there. So this is a nice and short beards this week. Find out what works best for you and go from there. Uh, Moving on to the business part of this, I'm really excited for this interview. This gentleman is doing amazing things in the painting world, blowing stuff up, has done some amazing things, has been exceptional almost in every aspect, and some golden nuggets are going to be coming from this interview. So without a further ado, let's go ahead and cut over to that interview now.
All right, what's up, guys? We got a special part of the business side here. I'm super excited to have Brad on with us today. Not only because of what he's done in his business, which is amazing. I won't steal his thunder, but I had the honor and privilege to be coached, mentored on Block Season 11, which will be coming out here hopefully in a couple of months. That's all I'm going to say about that, because then the big red bearded guy probably beat us both down. But Brad has done some amazing things. So he was one of the coaches and gracefully came on the show today. So Brad, go ahead and give a little introduction about you and your business, and just a quick, what is it that you do in your business?
Sure. Before I talk about the business, I do want to point out I was a coach on season 11, but before that, I won season 4.
That's right.
I was invited back.
Very important, because I forgot that I'm self-centered. I think it's just my season, but winning this show, which is not an easy task, you know, probably what you did in your business might have been easier than winning the show.
Felt like growing a business was a little less stressful.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I apologize for not pointing that out, but this season 4 winner of the blocks, and one of the few coaches that I had that actually had facial hair at the time.
Yeah,
So
sorry, I trimmed it down. You can see I like really went short with my hair on my head, so I did trim down my beard a little bit, but
it's all
yeah.
good. You still got a little bit there. So
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for having me, John. It was a pleasure meeting you when we were filming the season. I love your business. I still have your beard oil samples you gave me, and I still wearing them. This a flaw with your business might be that the beard oil lasts a really long time.
that is a problem,
So
but that's a good problem for the
yeah, that's
customer.
good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so I own a company called Ellison Painting. My background in painting is a kind of unique one. Most people that own a painting company grew up like their dad was a painter, or maybe they got a job painting in college and then they eventually like started their own company and grew it, over a lot of years. My background is very different than that. I have a business background, sales and management background. Um, so very briefly, Cliff Notes version is after my wife and I got married, coming up on about 8 years ago, we decided that we didn't want to work for anyone else ever again. We both had pretty good jobs, but just the handcuffs of working for other people and making other people rich while, we were doing okay, but we certainly didn't have full control. It just didn't appeal to us anymore. So we quit our jobs. We started our first company, which is an independent health insurance agency. We launched that, got pregnant 2 months after our wedding. And if you know anything about the insurance industry, it's highly seasonal. We sell individual policies. So at that time, we were selling from November 1st through January 31st. And the other 9 months of the year, it's like, what are you going to do? So we made enough money. We didn't have to work, but we decided it wouldn't be prudent, especially with the baby on the way. So we started to look for seasonal sales opportunities for me. And like, well, trades industries, especially industries that work outside, tend to be busier in the spring, summer, fall. So I started to look for that type of opportunity, and I stumbled across this guy at church who owned a painting company. Was looking for a sales guy and maybe eventually someone to buy his company. So I met him on a Sunday. By Tuesday, we had agreed to a pseudo partnership. Within a few months, I was running his business, and for 5 years, I ran his company. Some things happened in the negotiation to buy the business, and ultimately we decided to walk away and start our own. So April of 22, we started Ellison Painting, and I didn't have, again, I wasn't a painter, so I didn't have a painting background. I had experience running a painting company, but we just launched, and we're like, all right, well, let's just go pedal to the metal and see how fast we can scale this thing. And so we launched in April of 22. By the end of 2022, we had sold $1.3 million worth of painting services and produced $1 million of that. 2023, we sold just under $3 million in painting services. To put that in perspective, the average painting company in America has 1.5 employees, generates between $60,000 to $80,000 worth of revenue. So we are in like the upper echelon of painting businesses. So it's been a wild ride. Scaled very quickly, had a lot of success. It's been stressful, but it's been a lot of fun and very rewarding. And we're still flying. We're scaling as quickly as we were before.
And Brad, I think you're being very humble and downplaying I mean, 3 million that's a big number. Like, I'm sure there's companies that only dream of getting there. To do that in the time that you did is amazing. What you kind of went into your backstory a little bit. What is there anything that you could say, hey, if you're, obviously you can't compare painting business to beard business, there's different intricacies, but was there one thing other than clearly you've got to put food on the table for your wife and a newborn, which newborns are not cheap. Was there any one thing that you could say, this is really what kind of was the separating from mediocrity that puts you into that next stratosphere? Like what, is there a golden nugget, or is it just, what is that?
I mean, so there's been very, very few people within my industry that have done what I've done as quickly as I've done it. Okay. It's been done, not very often. And most people, to your point earlier, never come close. Right. So why have I had success? A bunch of reasons. One is I'm in an industry that is profitable right away. It's not glamorous. Painting houses is not glamorous, Mowing yards is not glamorous. Washing windows is not glamorous, but these are all things that people are going to continue to pay for, right? And so the first thing I did is when I entered the painting industry and then decided to launch my own painting companies, I chose an industry that you can make money in. It's the type of work that most people don't want to do. So that's one thing. Now, as far as within the industry itself, what's made the difference? I think a little bit of self-awareness, understanding that I am not smart enough to reinvent the painting wheel. What I did is I looked around the industry, I met a bunch of people and looked at their companies and said, what are they doing right that I can simply copy? Can I just take the structure of what they're doing and just try to make it fractionally better, right? So nothing that I do is novel or new or even that clever. We just do it very, very well. And then the last two things that I think contribute highly to our success would be, I have no aversion to risk. I mean, my wife and I, we live a very comfortable lifestyle, but not a very expensive lifestyle, really. We could survive on a lot less money than we make. And so I'm like, all right, well, let's just risk it. We had some money saved up that we were going to use as a down payment to buy the other company. And we essentially risked it all. Like, let's put it on the line. I'm confident we can make this, get a great return on this investment. And it's been a good return. But we were willing to risk it. And a lot of people aren't. And then the final thing would be, my wife and I have a commitment to living open-handedly. So along those same lines, because we don't live this, big extravagant lifestyle, I don't need to be making $1 million a year. If I sell 3 million, I don't need to keep 1 million of it, And so we are able to pay our painters and pay our salespeople and project managers and admins not only a fair wage, but really a generous wage. And it's not generous means like I'm giving them something. Really, they're earning it. We really believe in merit-based pay around here. So people are performing, and as a result, they're getting paid what they're worth. So it's taking risks, living open-handedly. And I found the more we do those two things, the more financial rewards my wife and I see.
That's amazing. And I think there's something that I'm seeing in my business, and there's small similarities. Wherever you compare yourself to a $3 million in a year, you got to pull the string. So obviously family's very, very, very big to you. Watching you on social media and stuff, you're a family person, which is kind of a little weird in today's microwave society of, most folks that would probably be in your chair are on their 5th wife, 6 kids they don't know about. And one thing that I think where we connect is Whiskerman, and I said this in the first podcast, Whiskerman's my wife's business. She just can't grow an awesome beard like this. Having that spouse backing your play to where you said you can risk. Can you talk a little bit about what that's like to have someone who's in your corner that if you push all the chips in and it goes the other way, that you can still turn and someone's there to support you? I have a feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's something that's got to be something that everyone else can't necessarily have, of having that loving, supporting spouse is got to be something that is huge.
It's instrumentally important. It is unfortunately quite rare. But I would say that it is something that everyone could have if they put in the work to do it, right? So, I love my wife, and I think that I have a good marriage. I like her, which is also very important. And I think she likes me. But it's not easy. I'll be frank with you. We were at marriage counseling this morning, right? And if I compare our marriage to most of my friends' marriages, I would say our marriage is better. But guess why it's better? Because we actually care to continue to put the work in. So without Rachel as my partner, both, in business and emotionally and spiritually and parenting and everything, I certainly would be a fraction of the man that I am. She backs every decision I make within the business, but the only reason she's willing to do that is because in the length of our relationship, we've been together 9 years now. Never once have I given her a reason not to trust me, doubt my integrity, believe that I don't have the best interests of the family at heart. And so I think it makes it easy for her if I say, hey, I got this opportunity. It's going to cost us like $50,000 to try out this new marketing approach. And really there's no guarantee that it's going to work. I think it's going to work. She's like, hey, if you think it's a good idea, let's try it. And fortunately, most of the risks that we take have paid off. But even the ones that haven't, doesn't matter, because we've set ourselves up, on a pretty firm foundation financially that we can weather some financial storm. And our relationship is such that, honestly, if we enter a recession or depression next year and Ellison Painting folds and I got to go take a job making $15 an hour and she's got to go back to work making $15 an hour, if I got my wife and my 2 kids and the third one on the way, I think we can rebuild and we'll be fine because we have each other.
That's so awesome. Congratulations on the third one
Thanks.
on the way. That's and I think that's where people who are watching this are probably like, no, give me the Willy Wonka golden ticket of how you went from 0 to 3 million in 18 months. I think, and feel free to correct me, it's having that you just said of all of that doesn't matter. It can burn down to the ground. You're rooted, which a lot of people don't want to do in today's society, and we're getting further and further. They don't want to be rooted in, the faith, family, friendship, those 3 F's. I think really, if you have those, it doesn't matter what storm comes by. It doesn't matter what economy is doing out there. That your internal bubble is going to stand the test of time, which is amazing. So it's so awesome to hear someone who's got that and no one's got it all figured out. Of course, I've been with my wife, will be 24 years this July, and we sure luck some days that we're still together, but it's having that partner that, hey, look, this relationship's worth, doing what we need to do to make sure, and putting that above business does give you that, is part of that secret to the success. So, where are you out of? So my house is crappy. It needs a paint job. How do I get a hold of you to come paint my house?
So we're based in Metro Detroit, right? So if you live outside of about an hour radius of the Detroit proper, probably not gonna be able to help you out. Our website is ellisonpainting.com. You can find us on Instagram at ellisonpaintingmi if you want to see some silly videos and some before and afters. But the reality is, because I'm so interconnected with the industry, anyone that is listening that needs a painting estimate, you let me know and I will find the absolute best company for you in your area. I manage a Facebook group that has about 190,000 painters in it, mostly in the US. And so I got guys that could help you out anywhere across the country, and that would be rewarding to me, even if I don't make $1 off it.
Yeah. So you are the untypical business person and running a different model. And I think it's so refreshing and so great to hear from multiple things. One key that I want to point out is Detroit is a massive city, but there's only so many houses in the city. I'm sure weather's going to take it, but to do what you did, in just that local bubble, because I'm sure people who heard that initially were like, oh yeah, he's a national company. So put it in perspective, you're looking at Detroit's probably your local control is probably a couple million houses.
Yep.
And then not only that, you've got that small bubble, and a million's not small, but you can only go so far. Like, you're not going to come down to Dayton, Ohio to paint my house. It's a little bit of a trip. You're more than welcome to come down. Love to have you down here. But you have your area of control. And what I think is really refreshing, and something that I just learned, and I'm fixing this right now on the spot, of you are willing to help the other painters in the industry. I have a tendency, and it's a very negative one, and I'm glad that you pointed this out today. And it wasn't even, you didn't even know I needed to hear this. I have a tendency to put down the other companies and say my product's better because, and that's normally how I start off a conversation. And from what you said, you help, how many did you say that you have? 109,000?
190,000 painters in that Facebook group. Yeah.
That is just, just that giving. And then as a mentor, just having sat with you and then talking, after we were done recording and stuff, just that giving heart. And I think that's another key to the success is you're definitely a giver. I know you're super busy. You've got probably 45 other things that could have been a top priority, but to take the time to come on, my show that's brand new, that's probably going to be seen by tens and tens of people.
Mhm.
But it's going to grow, especially when I've got, high priority guests like yourself on, is amazing. And that speaks to your character. I just am so honored and humbled to have, learned even today from you. So those were really the main things I wanted to point out. I did have one further question as I look at my notes. What drives you? I mean, you kind of talked about the family, but like, what is the mission behind your company?
Well, I mean, the mission behind our company is to provide uh, legacy changing opportunities for the people that work with us. What's more important to me is my family mission, which is faith, family, fitness, and friends, 4 Fs. And those 4 things feed everything else. And that's one of the reasons I think why we've been really successful is there are a lot of people that are really passionate about their industry, their business. They choose something that they really love and care about. I'm not that passionate about painting. I doubt many people are. What I'm really passionate about are those 4 things: the faith, family, fitness, friends. And I want to have a business that's going to feed into all of that. And I think that's why a lot of people have a hard time growing, is they pick an industry that there's not a lot of money to be made. And that's okay, right? It's not all about money. I meet some painters that they've been painting for 30 years. They've never had a single employee. But guess what? They manage their own schedule. They make the amount of money they make, and they don't have all the stress that I have trying to, herd all the cats that I'm herding on a daily basis. That guy is just as successful as me and my company, right? So it's not about the money. So then you can't compare yourself to a guy like me that's growing financially very quickly. If you are working in an industry and producing a product or a service that you really love, you're passionate about, and you're okay with not making a lot of money, then that's as successful, maybe even more successful than what I'm doing. So there's like 100 different sides of the coin that we're talking about. Success can be measured in a lot of different ways. To me, the most meaningful measure of success is, does my wife think I'm a good husband? Do my kids think I'm a good dad? Everything outside of that is trying to feed those 2 things.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Because I would assume, let's hope it's 100 years from now, but when someone's eulogizing you and that dash, that's what really matters. If you get a tombstone, the date born and date died, that dash is what it's important. And I really doubt, while it's amazing what you did in 18 months, I don't think anyone's going to stand up there and be like, businessman who made 3 million in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Brad was all about. And that is amazing that I think our society right now is give me. I want to be as rich as I can, and I want to step on people's heads. And I think you're not only breaking the mold in the painting industry by mentoring other folks and doing what you're doing, but as a businessman, I think we might have just let out a secret that I hope that this podcast goes out to lots and lots of people that go, you know what? Those 4 Fs are, that's it. I mean, they're the foundation of, if you can get those 4 squared away, and no one's gonna be perfect in all 4, but if you're making small changes and improving those each day, how can you go wrong at all? So
Right.
with that, any other things you'd like to add? Any parting shots? Anything whatsoever? The floor is yours.
No, man, I encourage anyone that's listening, especially if they're an entrepreneur, take risks, live open-handedly, be kind to your wife and your kids. I bet you'll have some success if you do those 4 things.
That's a mic drop right there, folks. So if you made it to this part of the podcast, thank you. Brad, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure changed lives today just by just nuggets after nuggets. If I was taking notes, which I have the luxury of having on recording, I probably would have filled a notebook. So thank you for listening, and thank you for your time, Brad.
Thanks for having me, John.
As always, shout out to our first responders. our active duty military members, and our veterans. If you're in a dark place as a veteran or inside any of those communities, reach out to us. I would love to pull someone out of the darkness. Been there myself. Love you guys, what you do. Love my brothers and sisters that are wearing the uniform and that took the uniform off. And as always, if you can't get behind those folks, feel free to get in front of them. We'll see you next week.